We are back for another amazing epic conversation with the one and only epic faculty, Lisa Bentley. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Stu, how are you doing?
I'm absolutely amazing. And how are you?
I am great.
Awesome. Awesome. Where in the world do we find you today?
I am north of Toronto in Caledon, and it
Hmm.
is a magical, beautiful, windless, sunny day. This is the day you should dream about.
Yeah, I was just outside. I was I ran back to my home office from my other office because that's where I have my little studio. And it was like 30 degrees, 28 degrees. For those of our American friends, that would be double it at 30. So about 80 degrees, 84 degrees, 86 degrees. I think that. Anyway, it was a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day.
It is.
And I'm so excited. So what have you been doing since December?
Since December, well, of course, when we finished Epic, I was buzzing, literally, and just I kept writing things down, ideas, things I want to do next time, and doing better. That's what I think everyone at Epic is all about: is learning and then saying, "I'm going to do better," not just sitting on it. So I found myself just like all of our guests, all of our people in our community, uh, learning from it and saying, "Okay, I can do better next time," and et cetera, et cetera. And what could we do? And so I did a lot of that for a few weeks and writing little notes down uh, and then I was fortunate enough to have a lot of talks that I got to do over the winter time, which was amazing. So I really enjoyed that. I got to create some new talks as well and talk to a variety of different groups. So I thrived on that. I did some coaching. I was down in Florida, so we did some coaching and yeah, just continued to brainstorm and think. And sometimes, the brain's your worst enemy because you can never turn it off. Mine's constantly moving. So spent a lot of time doing that. And yeah, now here we are. We've made the transition back to Ontario, which is wonderful to be here. And just, but every time I transition back, I'm moving house. I'm moving from Florida back home, and I can accept finally that there is a transition phase and it's not going to be instant joy, even though I was homesick and dying to get home. It takes, there's some growing pains with that, getting back into the flow of things again, getting back into being super busy because it's pretty chill life down in Florida.
Yeah.
Get back into the flow of things and sort of get back in step with life here. So that's what it's been about.
You post things often on your social media and often tag Epic in them, and they're you doing your routines and you doing your exercise and you doing your daily stuff that you do. And one of the biggest things that every Epic person, every leader, every aspiring entrepreneur, aspiring like just healthy human being, they always struggle with consistency.
Mm-hmm.
This is like something that I struggle with, that everybody does. And when you come off Epic, I call it the 10% decline.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10% decline is that every day after you leave Epic or something similar to Epic, every day you lose your inspiration, motivation, and you forget what you said you were going to do 10% per day. And then
Mm-hmm.
within 10 days, you're back into your old ways. So there's no science behind that. That is just my observation. And so I call it the 10% decline. But you don't have a 10% decline. You continue to rock it. Like you continue to, I wish you had a chance to be with James Rouse this year. You met James Rouse, of
Yes.
course, when we
Yes.
were in Switzerland together. But it was Switzerland. We were all, yeah, it was all,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But you and James are very similar in the fact that you both are always consistent. And I'm just wondering, what is the secret sauce to consistency?
I think the secret sauce is when you lose it. So when you've had a break and realize when you couldn't do it, you realize how much you missed it when it's forced on you. So, for example, I mean, of course, I'm always kind of justifying this in my head because I still love daily exercise. And yes, I was a professional athlete. So, therefore, I can justify it. I've spent 20 years of my life fully entrenched in professional sport. And so, I, it's normal that I've spent so much of my life doing it that I would continue to do it. But I do it without massive goals now. I don't have a goal of winning an Ironman, doing an Ironman. I have no goal like that, except my goal is to live long and healthy. So that's in the back of my head, and I know motion is lotion. I know movement will do that. Movement will keep your brain healthy and active. It keeps everything flowing. It's going to keep you without, a bunch of body fat, which ends up leading to inflammation and organ problems, etc. I also know the way it feels when I exercise. I know I can forward think. But if I take you back a bit, when I got quite sick, and our Epic community would know that when I was on intravenous for 5 weeks, I wasn't able to swim, for example, for 5 weeks. Couldn't go in a pool. I had a PICC line in my arm. And I remember coming out of that, and I couldn't exercise a ton because I couldn't breathe. I exercised though every single day. The nurse would come to the house to check my PICC line and go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is the 1 hour a day where I don't feel like I'm sick. So I'm just going to ride my bike." And I remember when I got the PICC line out and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was skinny. And people in our community might go, "Well, you are skinny." I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm strong." I'm not skinny.
There's a difference.
And and I looked in the mirror and I saw like the muscle loss in my body, and from not being able to use my arms and not swimming. And I said to myself, I will never go without swimming again, ever, because I lost it for 5 weeks, no choice. And so so I swim so that my whole body's moving, and I just feel so much better afterwards. So I think the key to consistency is to look at what life would be like without it. And I don't like that life without it. I like how I feel when I'm doing it. So I think a key thing to look at is forward thinking. Yes, at the moment, you don't feel like exercising, or at the moment, you don't feel like phoning that client or phoning that person, like at that moment. But it's the things that you don't want to do that you have to do. And
Mhm.
you have to have that forward thinking to say, when it's done, how will I feel? That brings consistency. Also, the key is to not go too hard. And I don't mean don't train or too hard. That's not what I mean. But don't go at it so that it's so intrusive in your life. It has to fit in your
Mhm.
life. So if that's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes. It doesn't mean you go and you say, "Okay, I am so excited. We just did Epic. I've seen all these people. I'm going to go out for 2 hours, a 2 hour run." And you do it and then you don't run for a month. No, no. Go out for 20 to 30 minutes and replicate that every other day. So
Right.
it's when you go too hard that you dig yourself in the trenches. So it's about consistency over time, and then forgiving yourself when you get out of the routine.
Yeah.
And also journaling. We've talked about that before, but I write things down.
Yeah.
And so when you see a blank space, that's like, "Oh, why is there a blank space there? Oh, why is there another blank space?" So chronicling your journey, and that doesn't have to be
Mhm.
just exercise and fitness, but I mean, of
Yeah.
course, I'm a big believer that exercise and fitness are key. And that was one of the things I came away from Epic thinking about was, if I ever get that opportunity again, how amazing would it be to take groups of people into the gym at 6 in the morning and run through a workout? Because I remember one woman said, "I don't really know what to do on the bike." And I wrote her a little bike session, and it was only 15 minutes long. And I said, this is what you would do, because it was so new to her. And I thought, wow, a lot of people know what they to do in the gym, but maybe there's a group that wants to meet in the gym for half an hour, and I can jumpstart what they're doing and get some
Yeah.
consistency with that, just like we did the breathing exercises
Yeah.
to put it in their life.
One thing we talk about, Epic, I don't know if you remember, but I talk about the C over QQ, which is consistency over quality and quantity. And so the idea is consistency is the number one thing. You don't have to do a certain quantity of like distance or push-ups or miles or kilometers. And quality, it doesn't have to be the greatest run or the greatest. As long as you do it consistently, it trumps quality and quantity every time. And that
Exactly.
consistency allows it to imprint on your brain and becomes a habit and blah blah blah. I want to like compare you and I for a second. So because it's just you and I here talking. So, one of the things I really have been into, I don't know if you know Dr. Peter Attia.
Yes, yes.
So Canadian doctor, but he lives in the States and he's very famous for being in that part of that show. Well, his books are great. Part of the show Limitless he did with Chris Hemsworth. But he talks about all cause mortality. And one of the two biggest things that affect all-cause mortality are diet and exercise. And often in medicine, we don't talk about that because it's just something that's, he said, interesting, I listened to his recent podcast that I heard him do on Rich Roll, and he said he spent less than an hour in his 9 years of medical school talking about diet and exercise. So they just now, to become a medical doctor, they don't talk about it. And so I wonder if, we know that diet and exercise are they super impact all cause mortality, except for car accidents, which he reminded me. He said, which is also one of the big all cause mortalities is accidents. But you have CF, right? So you've got cystic fibrosis. I have multiple sclerosis. So we're in this cool club that I wish we both weren't, which I wish we both weren't in, but we are. And does that, having CF and having that that known diagnosis, does that impact or does that motivate you to be consistent?
100%. When I was hospitalized, the doctors would come in and they'd say, and I was 40 when I got hospitalized, and they said, "Oh, this is your first time in the hospital for CF." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, we can see why. You're fit and healthy." And I was like, wow, like it was so evident to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "You're exercising, you're moving your lungs every day, you're getting rid of the mucus. That's been your saving grace." And when you can't do that enough, like eventually you get sick, and we have to go in there with the antibiotics. But through that whole time, I think the biggest takeaway I took from being in the hospital, I was only in for 5 days and then I went home to just continue with IV, is they offered to bring me an exercise bike to my room. That's how much they thought exercise was important for my health, like my health, my CF health, not for so I'll live
Yeah.
forever, because I wasn't coughing up enough mucus with the standard physio coming in. And they said, "You're not coughing enough. We need you to cough. Can we bring you an exercise bike?" And I'm like, "No, I did like 45 minutes of stairs." So I'm okay. And, so I was like, wow, like, so my takeaways were, they know I'm healthy because of exercise. They want me to exercise. And this has to be an important part. And it's really just the moving of the lungs.
Right.
And which is so important. And in fact, when I retired from professional sport, my CF doctor said, "We do expect you to your lung function, your lung health to decline because you're not going to be exercising at the same level." And to me, that was a challenge. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, "Okay, I might not be going all out for 9 hours anymore, but I'll give you an hour a day."
Mm-hmm.
I'll work it hard for an hour a day. And that was again my motivation. And so yes, 100% is I want to stay healthy. I want to give my lungs a fighting chance. And by moving them, I'm going to do that. And I don't want them to have to work that hard by having, too much like fatty tissue around them, too much body to move. If I weighed 50 pounds more, that's more work for all of my organs, my lungs included. So it is a big, it is a big motivator for me. I mean, how many people have heart attacks and then they change their diet? We shouldn't have to
Yeah.
have the heart attack, right? We
The-
don't need the heart attack.
no, the number one cure for non-smoke to stop smoking is lung cancer diagnosis. It's like 100%. You get like people get lung cancer. Oh, I'm quitting smoking immediately, right? And that's interesting. So I was going to draw it back to like when I got diagnosed with MS, my doctor told me if I don't use it, I'll lose it. So he said that the one thing you can do with MS, and because there isn't really any treatments for it at all. So there's just a symptomatic treatment, but there's nothing preventative, or there's nothing for treating the cause. So for me, having to be active is for my MS. So as I said, if I don't use it, I'll lose it. So you and I had this hang over our head inspiration to be active. So I'm wondering, I guess, comes back to the idea of how do we get like the people who don't have these hang over their head situations or motivators to be consistent in and you may not have like I don't know if you have this super secret solution to this or magic pill, but like how do we get them to be like, and that doesn't not just in exercise, but like in whatever they're doing, in journaling or in whatever it is they're doing, how to sleep habits or whatever that is, how do we keep people consistent? Like, have you learned any tactics that you suggest to people you coach?
It has to be in your schedule. I mean, wouldn't it be great? We get day planners. They're all major, market for it. Wouldn't it be great if in the day planner it wrote journal, exercise, breakfast, and had it written in. We've got
Hmm.
Victoria Day written in. We have everything written in. Why don't we write that in? That's the prescription. And I think a step further is our doctors, our primary care people have to get with the program. They have to prescribe it. They have to have someone come into their office and ask them, are you exercising 30
Right, but that's hard
minutes
to do
a
in
few times a day?
2023. That's
It's
hard to
very
do.
hard to do. We got to do the hard stuff.
Yeah, people don't
We're
want to be told
failing.
they have to do that, right? They want a pill, which is so interesting. And that, the pill is also, it's like a metaphor for hacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want the
Yeah.
pill for our health, we want the hacks for our business, we want the how do we do this quickly, fast, with the least amount of resistance to our time and body.
Yeah. Accountability. I mean, I think that's what's great about the Epic community is we do get that dose. And you and your team have done a great job of keeping in touch with everyone and sort of giving them that extra, that little that boost. It wasn't, okay, see you guys on December the 8th. We'll see you next year. It's you've got a constant engagement with everyone. So
And we
I
can do
mean
it
that
better too. We
gives
know that.
well, you
Sorry.
do a great job though, and giving everyone that extra boost and
Hmm.
connecting with people and having accountability. I mean, maybe the next step is we have Epic accountability coaches and saying, these are your faculty. Reach out to them once a month. This is your mentor now, or you choose your mentor, whatever it happens to be. We can't really solve the world, and we can look outside of the world and go, oh my goodness, we're a mess. I
Hmm.
had someone stop me in Toronto and say, what do you think the biggest human rights what do you think the biggest issue is in human rights? And I kind of was going to laugh and go, where do we start? So we can't start big. We have to start small. So we
Hmm.
take our Epic community and we get them moving. And then they create their own Epic communities. So
Hmm.
the mother that's exercising consistently is now a role model for her daughter or
Yeah.
her son and her family, and
Yeah.
being that role model and not being embarrassed by being good at that, and that it's part of life. So I think we have to be infectious with it. I think that's the biggest thing is encourage people, but we also in turn ourselves have to be accountable, whether that's hiring a personal trainer. I mean, we're all bad at something, let's face it. I mean, yeah, I have no problem going and exercising every single day, but I probably could do better work at strength. I do a good job at strength, but if I hired a personal trainer and I was accountable and went there a couple of times a week or had them just chat with me, I'd probably even do a better job. So looking at where your weak link is, and we all have it, and then getting on top of it. I mean, just on a slightly different note, but the same thing. I do think doctors have to do that 60 seconds and say, hey, like, how's the exercise going? That is no different than asking them, are you taking your vitamins? Are you taking your statin? Are you doing etc.?
Yeah.
When every time I go to the CF clinic, they hand me a mental health questionnaire every single time. And this is probably based in the fact that it's a fatal disease. And so they want to know, how are you doing? And it'll say, have you, in the last 2 weeks, have you been anxious, depressed, not slept, blah, 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 blah. And it is lengthy. And wouldn't it be great if every single doctor did that?
Sure.
And so we wouldn't even get to the kids helpline. We wouldn't even get to the suicide prevention line. We are in our office and we look at this and we've got someone that hasn't slept because
Hmm.
their mind doesn't stop. And maybe we can say, hey, I recommend this. I recommend that. Nothing might happen except awareness. So, I mean, I think we all have to, anyway, these are the changes I like to see, but I'd like to see them,
I,
small scale and grow.
there's a great quote that Mother Teresa, I think, and I hope I don't, I think it's Mother Teresa who said, if everyone swept their own doorstep, the whole world would be clean. Right. And
Yeah,
that's if everybody
exactly.
looked after their family and they did, there was positive influence of their other children, the next generation, and they saw their kid, they saw their mom or dad or their caregiver working out, and they saw them and they ate healthy and they were more present, if they were less on their phones when together as a family, when if they were more, going for family walks together, if there's so many things and not and almost none of them cost a cent.
Yes.
And that's the incredible thing with being healthy and being active and being consistent. It doesn't cost anything. It's just that we as human beings need to be somehow pushed. And I don't know, we haven't figured that out yet. We haven't figured out how to because we all everybody and I'm not getting morbid, but CF is a fatal diagnosis for a disease. So is MS,
Mhm.
but everybody will die of some sort of disease at some point. And the idea that you just don't know yet what that's going to be, for that, obviously not everybody, but most people do get cancer, they get whatever, and how you eat, live, work out, exercise, you're active, that all affects whether or not you get that. Right. So maybe in a way you and I are lucky because they've said, well, here, look, you've already got your thing. So now go and look after yourself.
I always say that. I say I'm so lucky. I know the disease I've got because I'm in preventative mode.
Yeah.
Like when I cough up blood, I get on antibiotics and I take care of myself to get healthy. Whereas if my neighbor coughs up blood, he's going to hospital for diagnostics and he has no clue what to do. And
Yeah.
he might not even stop at that stage. It might have gone from coughing up blood to a full blown pneumonia, like, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. Whereas I see a sign, I'm like, oh my God, I got to get on this. And so, I mean, I think I'm at a massive advantage, and so are you.
Yeah.
But we all have to believe, like right now, we all have probably some sort of heart disease. We probably have some sort of organ thing going on.
High blood
My sister,
pressure.
yeah, we got it all going on. So take
Yeah.
care of it now.
Yeah.
And, my sister had a hip replacement. My dad had four. He had them done 2 times. As soon as I found out she was getting hip replacement, I started doing hip exercises. I'm like, whoa, I'm part of this family.
Yeah.
And like I was ignoring them. It's stuff I did as a professional athlete. But once I stopped being a professional athlete, I wasn't doing all those little tiny exercises. And now I'm like, oh, I better work on my hip stability. I better work on my back. I better work on all these things because it's in the family. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. And I don't want to be there. Like I just, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the hospital.
They say, there's the Centurion decathlon, which is, you figure out you figure out when you get to 100, what are the things you want to be able to do physically, mentally. Like, I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to go for a walk. I want to be able to walk in with my partner. I want to be able to, whatever it is, stand up from a sitting position at 100 years of age. So you go backwards and say, how do I get to that point? So you start living your life in a way that you'll be able to do that at 100.
Yeah,
Which is an
for
interesting
sure.
way to look at life. And it's funny. I don't want to. We've talked. We don't have a lot of time together, but I want to just say, Greg, and I had Greg's done a couple of Ironmans, and he and I had signed up the year of the pandemic. We were going to go to Mount Tremblant and do the. So you had Greg on a training program, and so he shared it with me, and I think I told her this. If I didn't, I apologize. If I forgive me, but and so he dumped it into my calendar, and I have these Lisa Bentley training programs. Still to this day, what I post to every day. So every day, and I haven't deleted it because every day just reminds, like, I should be doing this. And like I've got exactly what I'm supposed to do every day to prepare myself for my Ironman that I never got to do because of the COVID. But it's just interesting that I get to see that every day. Like, Lisa's coaching programs are in my life every single day.
Well, let's make it a 5K. An Ironman's too long. An
I know.
Ironman
I've
is an
done.
amazing, amazing thing to do, but it's like, remember we talked about consistency?
Yeah.
It's extreme. We don't need extreme.
No.
5K,
Yeah. No.
5K, or a hike, a mountain bike ride, whatever it is.
Yeah. I was just, being around people like you, people like Greg, and people like those people just inspire you to, like, well, why do a 5K when you can do a marathon? Like, it's the people it's who you surround yourself with or who you aspire to be, right? Well, that's negative and positive too. Like, if you hang out with people who aren't positive or aren't active or aren't inspiring, that's kind of how you'll be. They
Yeah,
say you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
yeah.
So anyway, I spend time with people like you, so I should be amazing.
You
So
are amazing. Well, maybe that's part of, when you said, how do we get consistent is find a friend. I mean, that's
mhm,
always one of the ways is you have a training partner, but it's just somebody else who's doing what you want to do. Doesn't
yeah,
necessarily isn't the person you necessarily walk with, etc. But of course, having community is vital. But just having another friend and you just say, hey, what did you do today? And that will hopefully motivate and
agreed,
encourage.
agreed. I do, and I think the Epic community. One of the reasons why we do these little chats is that our community can know more about us and know that we're all here for each other. That's the whole point of it. I bet you $100 that if someone reached out to you, you would answer their questions. I just know you
100%.
would. I know you would. Um,
100%. I had this guy that I don't even know on Instagram send me a note saying, oh, I raced Ironman Lanzarote. he was hardcore, and he said was pushing 270 watts, which is very hard on the bike. And then all of a sudden I couldn't anymore. And that was my goal, was 270 watts. And it dropped to 240 and I wasn't doing my goal anymore. So I quit. I was like, whoa. And he said, I couldn't process carbohydrates. My body wasn't working anymore. What should I have done? I said, you shouldn't have gone so hard. And I said, and you should also just go by perceived effort. When it gets too hard, you can't digest, back off. Eventually everything works out. And, when you're back home training, go a bit easier, learn how to be a better fat burner, because carbohydrates run out. So you got to be a better fat burner. But the biggest thing was, don't go so hard. Like, it's not, get to the finish line the best that you can. If it's an event like that, you do the best that you can. And our finish lines all look very, very different. But
yes, not everyone's looking to be an Ironman triathlete.
No.
But we are all looking to be healthy and have longevity. And I think it's not that complicated.
No.
It comes down to consistency, though.
100%. It's about being consistent. Nothing glossy, nothing crazy out of the box. It has to work in your life. Kara's going to have a baby. So what's her exercise going to look like? It's going to involve a baby. And it's going to be walking with a stroller, maybe jogging with a stroller, putting if she was somebody who was going to be riding a bike inside, she'd be riding inside and have the crib right beside her bike. And as soon as the baby needs her, she's off. That's the you got to be flexible, but you just show up.
Rather than do nothing, be aware of what you can do and then do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Kara does have a Peloton, so I know she's when she hears this, she's gonna be like, "Oh, Lisa said I should do some bike riding."
The 45-minute Peloton might take about 2 hours though, after she gets on and off a million times, but that's okay. It's okay.
I always ask two questions of everybody when they do these little conversations. And the first was, how would you describe epic? And not our community, the word. Like, what do you think is epic?
Incredible. Out of the box. It's a shining star. It's something that is not out of reach. It's just something that you have to get on your tippy toes to get. You have to work a little bit for it.
Love it. And the second question is, I don't know, are you aware of Tim Ferriss?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has a obvious podcast he has, but he always asks these 10 or I think 8 or 10 questions to every guest. And one of the ones I like he asks is, if you could have a billboard, in Times Square or anywhere in the world, everybody could read, what would you say? And it had to be at a glance, right? Like you have to look, you can't be like a dissertation, but I wanted to upgrade that because billboards are old. So if you could send a text message to everybody in the whole wide world, it would appear on their phone out of nowhere, like little ding, and there's this message from Lisa Bentley. What was that? What is that message you think everybody should be able to hear? What would benefit from hearing?
Move a little every day. MALE, male. It's not diverse enough. I should have a female version, but all I've got is move a little every day. And if you do that, you're probably gonna, get that epic. You're probably gonna get on your tippy toes. But get moving.
And if you're out there struggling right now, I think, and you listen to this and you're watching this, I think that is like the best advice, right? I love that, I had this debate with James Rouse about my watch, and he's not a big fan of the watch, which is fine, but he's also on another level of consistency that I'm not. But I love that your watch says to you, get up. It's time to get up, right? Stand up. It's time to get up. And I think that's just, it's an electronic reminder, but, and it'll say like, you haven't moved enough today. Move, or make a moment to breathe and to reflect. And I think those are really important reminders. Like, thank you, Apple. But I think we all could do even without that.
Yeah, no, I think the watches, everything's a double-edged sword, but I think they're great. They're great accountability. I've seen more people do exercise because they got an Apple Watch. For me, it's probably not great because I've got such a compulsive behavior that I'll just be like, oh, what? I'm at 700% today. I could be at 1,000. I do have to take it off, but I know myself. So if some people need it on, some people sometimes might need to take it off. But keep in motion. And the best, you may have also heard the podcast with Jerry Seinfeld when he talked about that he struggles with depression, which is incredible because he's a comic.
Hmm.
Uh, but that personality can go high and low, and even sometimes I'll find myself get low because I am such a high achiever that if I don't have purpose, I can feel like I've got no point.
Yeah.
And that's a awful place to be. But I also know that movement is going to solve it.
Yeah.
And he himself said the best antidepressant is a pair of running shoes. And I put them on and out I go. And I
Yeah.
felt myself in sort of that spiral last Saturday. Like, what am I doing? What, why am I, well, I need something. I need the carrot. I need something to reach for. And I thought, go downstairs to your training room, get on your rowing machine, do whatever. Sometimes it's getting outside like I did today. And I just blared the 80s music. And I was like so happy. I was singing out loud. I was doing all
You
these
can
things.
change your entire dynamic by music or activity or being active. Or I think going outside, if you can, is green is so amazing for human being, for mental health. Being in green, being in nature.
So good. And I did
It's
that
huge.
today. Actually, I went out on my gravel bike, and which was amazing. But the best part was when I was coming towards home. This doesn't happen anymore. You'll love this. I was coming back home, and I saw all these cyclists out, and they were teenagers. And there was a truck in front of them, and they're riding. And I'm, of course, like, I'm over the moon. I'm seeing students on bikes. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm cheering for all of them and waving at all of them. And they're waving back. They're happy. And I'm waving. And then, the stragglers are coming, and there's a police car behind them. And I turn around and I'm like, hey, you guys, what are you doing? And they're like, we're riding to Albion Hills, which would probably be 30K away. And they're going to camp for 2 days and then ride home. And
Amazing.
that was the best part of my day today, was
Amazing.
seeing that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and we can't see that if we're cooped inside. So we got to get
100%.
outside. We got to move. And I'm so happy that I got to see them. So they made my day.
That's a great way to end it. Lisa, thank you so much. Oh, and how do they get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? If they already don't know how to get a hold of you. What's your social website, whatever?
Lisa_Bentley at 123 for Instagram. You can send me an email anytime, lisa@lisabentley.com. And I am happy to motivate you to move your body anytime.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.